Hi everyone, I'm here today with Sally, so if you can hear something purring, it's just her. So today I have some lovely gouache from Arteza that I'm gonna play around with. And for you who might be new to gouache, it is like thicker and more opaque watercolors. So this is a set of 60 colors, which is quite a lot. So I'm gonna try to challenge myself today and see if I can squeeze all of these into one little painting. So yeah, let's swatch these and see what they look like. Even if I already have the colors here on the lid, it is always good to make your own swatches to see what they look like in real, because it can be a little different from when it's printed like this. And the paper I will be using is also from Arteza, and this is the Expert 32 Sheets watercolor pad, and it comes in a set of 2 actually. I haven't tried this one before, only the premium one, which I do actually really like, so I hope I will like this too. Oh, and I also have this set of 12 metallic gouache colors that I was also supposed to use, but then I realized that all of these are already included in the big set of 60, so there's really no need for me to use these. But if you would need a set of shimmery, beautiful paints, this might be something for you. Yeah, just look how pretty these are. Also, links to the Arteza products will be down in the description box below, so go check it out if you want to. Arteza has a bunch of different art supplies to a fairly decent price, to be honest, so it can be a good option if you're on a budget or something. Nee, nee, nee. Das. So what I first needed to do was to come up with an idea that included a lot of details so that I would be able to fit in all the different colors. You might think that using more colors would be easier, but it can actually make it more difficult, since you need to make sure that all these colors work together and not create this color vomit. And yes, I will say color a lot in this video, be prepared. But anyways, I felt inspired to make something whimsical and cute and peaceful, like this imagination place that you can visit in your mind. I'm a person that loves and needs to be alone, besides from my cats of course, and just be in my own little creative bubble. So I wouldn't mind to have my own floating island where I could just visit to draw or read or meditate or whatever. Just my own personal space. And this probably sounds like a nightmare to some people, being all alone on an island, but this is just an imagination place. Now I also got an excuse to use my brand new porcelain mixing palette. It is super heavy, which I love, because then it won't move around and make irritating noises like a certain other mixing palette that I have. Yes, I'm talking about you cheap plastic mixing tray. I also just threw all the tubes into the box. I somehow find it more satisfying having them all mixed together, so I really have to dig in to find the different colors. So I don't know if I'm the only one having this problem, probably not, but I just find it so hard sometimes and scary to start coloring on a sketch or line art, especially if I really like the art, which I did in this case. I don't want to ruin it with colors, but yeah, here we go. I did actually make a rough color mock-up to see where I should place the different colors to make sure I got them all in there and that I get a good balance. And just like when I did the 8D marker drawing, I made like a sunset or evening sky with a pink, purple and blue gradient, and in that way I could fit 7 colors into the sky alone. And I also got rid of that hideous neon pink from the start. I just mixed it into the sky. So with gouache, you could either use them as they are without mixing them with water and you will get this matte and very opaque finish, but you can also mix them with water and use them like watercolors kind of, like I did with the background for example. I wanted a more light and transparent look for the sky, so I mixed the gouache with a lot of water. It was also easier to create the gradient when you add water to the paint so that the colors can flow into each other. I am pretty new to gouache. I have used it quite a bit though, but this is my first real big illustration with this art medium, and it often takes a little time to develop a style or technique that you feel comfortable with. I notice I prefer to first lay down a base of heavily water mixed gouache, like watercolors, and in that way I could fill up the area pretty quickly, and then when I had this base layer I could start to build up the layers using the paint with almost no water at all. I really love how you can layer the paint and adding lighter colors on top of the darker ones. You can't really do that with normal watercolors. I might also add that sometimes I mix 2 or 3 colors and use that instead of using the pure color directly from the tube. I don't know if that is considering cheating, but yeah, who made up the rule? I think I did. But to be fair, I'm still using all the colors. Many of these color tones are very saturated and vibrant, which is very pretty, but it's also not super pleasing to the eye having a bunch of colors screaming to your face. So I often used a more earthy or desaturated color to tone down the more vibrant tones. I don't know if you have heard of the ugly phase of a drawing or painting. It is just a part of the process when the art still hasn't really come together yet. It still looks very unfinished and raw. This painting had a very long ugly face, let me tell you. Since I am not very used to the medium, it took me a while to get things as I wanted, and since gouache is very opaque and covering, I consciously left out the line work since the paint would just cover it up anyway, so I saved the line art till last. So I think the lack of contrasting line art contributes to the unfinished and sloppy feeling. You don't need line work, of course, but I knew I was gonna add that afterwards, so that is why I could leave these little gaps between the different color areas, since I knew I would just cover them up with the line work anyway. If I would have gone for a lineless style, I would have been more neat from the beginning, of course. I tried to use a few colors at a time, and once I've used one tube, I moved it to another box so I would keep track on the ones I've used. I also checked them off on the color swatch card that I made before. I am really happy I made this floating island with these rocks showing underneath it, since I could just squeeze in all the cooler earthy brown and gray colors in there, because there is a lot of those. Also, I want to say that this Arteza paper that I'm painting on is very nice, to be honest. It has a little bit of texture, which I like, but not so much texture that it gets hard to paint smaller details on. So yeah, for a more detailed piece like this, I think it worked really great. It is interesting how this painting was a lot more challenging for me than the 80 marker challenge that I did last year with 20 more colors to use. I don't know if it has anything to do with the art medium itself. With markers you only have so many colors to use and you often don't really mix them, more than maybe just layering them on the paper. With mixable mediums like gouache you only need a few base colors to be able to mix all the colors that you need pretty much. So maybe if I had just used the colors straight from the tubes it would have been easier for me. Now since I can actually mix the colors that I need, I get a lot more color options to choose from, which made some of the already available colors a bit unnecessary sometimes. Not saying that it's not worth having all these colors, but it is a bit hard to fit them into one painting. I think the hardest part with this painting was to add in all the 12 metallic paints. I like using metallic paints for minor details like jewelries and stuff like that, but if it wasn't a challenge I would have just skipped these paints for this illustration. Besides maybe the silver for the paint tubes and the metal parts of the paintbrushes and the bronze that I used for the watch, but now I had to squeeze all of them in there. I don't hate the look of them, but it takes away the matte look that I like with gouache. So yeah, I don't think they made a good contribution for this painting in particular. Adding the details and the line art at the end was my favorite thing about this painting. It really brought this piece together. And I first thought I would just use a fine liner or a brush pen to add the outlines with, but I didn't really want bolder black lines. So instead I took a very fine paintbrush and I mixed black with this reddish purple color to get this darker, warmer purpley gray that I think looked really nice with the other colors. For the background, like the tree and the plants, I made lighter outlines so that it wouldn't interfere too much with the main focus of the painting, which is the cat lady and the painting supplies. So the softer outlines for the background gave the background a softer look. I really like how this piece turned out at the end. I think like 90% of the time working on this, I was doubting this would turn out any good at all. I made so many changes and layers, painting over and fixing things. So this may not be the color scheme I would normally go with. I would probably pick less color tones to work with to make it more cohesive, but I think this works pretty well too, considering the circumstances. Now, looking at it, I could probably have added even more details, like having a few of her drawings pinned to the tree trunk and maybe a few books in the grass, or maybe even some fairy lights or a lantern in the tree, just to add to the creative and cozy atmosphere. But yeah, I still love it and I hope you like it too. Don't forget to check out the links in the description box below if you would like to test out these products yourself. Thanks Artessa for sending me these to play with, and thank you guys for watching. I will see you next time. Bye!